Hey guys, welcome to another day of Miracle March. Today is day 18 of Miracle March, and I'm super excited to be here. Miracle March has been it's been such an amazing journey, and the mission of Miracle March is an intentional month of transforming minds by influencing, motivating, and coaching aspiring entrepreneurs while empowering them with tools to succeed. And so far, we have empowered hundreds of people because on the 13th, we've been able to 10x our reach. We had a birthday celebration that we were able to just really empower people. And so if you have not seen this birthday celebration, please go click on the link. It's in my YouTube channel. Just search Go Giver birthday celebration, and you'll be able to see that there. And so today, I'm going to talk about a few things. Today is going to be a little bit different than some of the other days that we've done. Today, it's just going to be me. And I wanted to come on here really quick to talk about intellectual faculties. And I know many people are like, well, what are those? What is an intellectual faculty? And you know, when it comes to our senses, we know what that is. If I said, "Hey, what's your five senses?" You would tell me it's to see, hear, smell, taste, touch, and we all know that. We were taught that in school. And so your intellectual faculties you know of, but just like your five senses, you know how to use them, and it's something that well, nobody really teaches you how to hear. You just hear, and but you know the function of your ear that teaches you to hear. Here are the intellectual faculties, and it's perception, will, imagination, memory, intuition, and reason. And so these intellectual faculties are really interesting. And so here's the connection between them, because on another video, we talked about the conscious and the subconscious mind. And so your five senses, they affect your conscious mind. And so the things that you see, smell, taste, hear, touch, they all affect your conscious mind. So if you see something, a thought comes to mind. When you hear something, you could hear, like if you hear a fire siren, you think of a fire truck. And so your intellectual mind is affected by the things you see, smell, hear, taste, touch. Your intellectual faculties, this is how you communicate with your subconscious mind. Now, you can also communicate with your intellectual mind, but when you're trying to get to your subconscious mind, you use this as a channel. Your intellectual faculties is the channel that helps you get there. And so let's think about it. When you have your imagination, and imagination, today we're going to talk about perception, will, and imagination. And your imagination is that ability for you to see something in the future, right? Like you got to see it. And I've heard the saying before where you got to see it in the mind to feel it in your hands. And if you think about that statement for a second, we live in a world that was created by imagination. Someone had to think about creating a stroller. Someone had to think about the car. Someone had to think, imagine coming from Barney Rubble and Fred Flintstone days to today where you have an electric car. Someone had to think about all of these developments and the things and how to get there. Someone thought about it, and then they had to create it. Now, what's in between those things? That's your will. And so you have a burning desire where you imagine and you're like, man, I believe that a car could work with electricity, 100% electric. Someone had to think he was crazy at first, right? But he's seen it in his mind, and then he started to create it and started to test and to believe that this was possible in being able to carry out. And so the will is that other faculty that you have this picture in your mind, your imagination, you could see it. So let's take the electric car. You could see the electric car, but you start telling your friends and your friends start discouraging you. Now, what keeps you going? The willpower to do it. Or what keeps you going when you try the first car and it fails? You try to power it up and it blows up, right? Like, we have no idea the amount of different revisions and things that happens when you're trying to create something new. But what keeps you going? It's the willpower. And willpower, it's the focus, it's the ability to hold this picture in your mind and say, I'm not going to give up because I believe that this could be done. And so when you hold on to that willpower, it's like the will is so important, because here's where people give up. People quit. They quit on their dreams. They quit on their goals. They're like, oh man, this just isn't possible for me. Yes, it is. Yes, it is possible. And it's the willpower to be able to execute on this goal that's the missing piece. And so how do you, and I like to tell my clients all the time, like, practice exercising your will muscle. With exercising your will muscle, and I do it in the gym. And so I like going and taking a run. Let's say I'm on a 3-mile run. I will try to keep a thought in my mind for a mile at a time. It's super hard to do, especially the faster you go. The faster you go, it's your body. You're trying to think about technique. You're trying to think about put one foot in front of the other. You're trying to think about breathing. And some people, I mean, even me, I'm thinking about quitting. I'm like, man, why am I even doing this? You're not even an athlete, dude. Why are you doing this? But then how do you keep the thought that you want to keep at the front of your mind, even while your body is under stress? And here's the reason why I do that and why this is practicing willpower. Because in life, you're not going to have the option to not have bills. You're not going to have the option to not have a family, to not have things that's going to be thrown at you that's going to make you want to quit, that's going to make you want to not pursue your dreams. And so having a strong will, having the ability to hold that belief of who you are and the thing that you know that you want to be. So let's say that might be you want to be a real estate investor. You want to be to sell properties, and you want to have $1 billion in real estate, whatever that may be. Do you have the ability, when things are not going right, to keep that focus, to keep the ability to keep that image in the front of your mind, to feel it, to enjoy it now? Is that something you're able to do? Or are you going to quit? Or when things are hard, are you going to forget about it and be like, you know what? This really wasn't for me. I'll just go back and collect a steady paycheck and go back to work. Now, this is the reason why willpower is so important. And then you have perception. Perception is super, super, super important, because here's why. Here's how you use perception to get to your imagination using will. Because if you're going in this goal and being this elite real estate investor, and things are coming up, you can now use perception to say, like, let's say a closing was going to happen, and you have a property under contract, and now this property that was under contract, there's an issue with the title. Like, there's some kind of lien on the property, and it's just so hard to get this lien off. And now you're ready to quit. You're like, oh my gosh, I can't find the lien holder. I guess this wasn't meant to be. Now, if you're able to use perception, you could say, you know what? Maybe I'm supposed to learn something here. This lien is going to cause me to now gain knowledge so that I could help the next person who's ever come into contact with a lien like this. And so now using that perception, it fuels you to push you towards the thing that you was once that you seen in your mind, that you imagined. And so here's where you use will to continue to keep going. You use perception to keep you motivated, and you still have the image of the thing that you've seen. And so that's imagination. And so this is how you could use all three: imagination, willpower, and perception, to really start achieving things that you want to achieve in your life. And I firmly believe that if you're able to get really good and master and really exercise these three intellectual faculty muscles, as I call them, that you could change your life. And so I hope today's session was super valuable, that it was something that you were able to take and go implement daily. And this, don't expect to be a master at this in one day. Like, this is going to take a lot of practice. I practice these things daily. Continue to practice. Just go check it out, and be aware of these types of situations, and use your imagination. Have intentional time to imagine. Have intentional time to where you're going to be using your will, and where you practice using your will. And any situation come up, what perception are you going to have of it? Practice these three intellectual faculties, and I know that you'll be able to change your life. Peace and love, y'all. Catch y'all on day 19 tomorrow. All right? Peace.